paper 4, which is, I think, the best paper. It is my opinion, the ethics paper. And students, there is a tendency, and I have seen many students, they do not pay much attention to it. They capitalize the knowledge of GS paper 1, 2, 3, and the other knowledge and then they use those knowledge in the GS paper 4. So I think there are 2 sections, as we all know. One section covers the terminology related questions, and there are some questions which is very beautifully drafted. Like last year a question came, if you remember, like non-performance of a duty by a civil servant is a form of corruption. Do you agree? What do you think? Such kind of questions put you in some very troublesome situation. How do you write such question? What is your approach in dealing with these questions?
What I specifically, as you said, I love GS4. My approach was always that in a single day, when I was preparing for mains, the first half was reserved for GS 1, 2, 3. Second half was optional plus GS4. Every single day, 1 hour or 1.5 hours was dedicated to GS4. It was not that exam ke 1 mahine pehle I am ratifying GS4. Doesn't work that way. And ethics is a paper I personally feel reflects what you as a person you are. It reflects your own personality, your mindset, your thinking. So that is what comes out in the paper. When you approach the question you said, it will show what you think that actually what happens and how you will act upon that. So it's your complete mindset. No one can teach you all this. This comes with your experience, your maturity, your level of understanding. You will be working as an officer. You need to be compassionate. So this comes with the process. So it is that. I think it is that way. I don't know, Muskan has some or the other view. Please add on.
What is your opinion, Muskan?
So she said it very nicely. One thing to add. What I did was, while writing answers in GS4, I would link them with personal examples. Like I took some of the major topics and I prepared examples beforehand, which I could use in the exam. Because when you are writing answers, it's very difficult to think of the examples right then and there. If you have prepared something beforehand, you can use them. So I prepared some of the examples related to topics such as emotional intelligence or courage, like very prominent topics which are there in ethics, and I use them wherever possible in my answers.
I think ethics is one area where you can score maximum rather than the paper. I can find out an anecdote. There was a student with the KSG classroom program, your senior batch, IS 2013 batch, I think Rachit Gujarat Cadre. He scored 142 or 143, highest I think in the country till now. Nobody has broken his record. So I think Sanjita or Muskan, looking at the approach of the Sanjita, like he's giving or devoting 1 hour specially for ethics, maybe he's going to break that record. My best wishes. My best wishes. Apart from this, there are certain questions which you can say like based on quotations. Like last year there was a question on the quotation by Mahatma Gandhi that a man is but a product what he thinks, of his thought, what he thinks he becomes. So in this situation, there are so many thinkers. So how do you, address this issue of quotations of multiple leaders like Socrates, Gandhi, Tagore sahab? Inko kaise kiya aapne? How do you manage to, do you read about those quotations or like padhte ho jata hai? What do you think?
No, because you said it, there are numerous such quotations, so you can never have a complete comprehensive view about it. What I used to do is get the gist. If some of the other questions, it comes many test series when we write, such as the other quotation keeps on coming. So how I write the answer is, I try to explain the gist of the question very clearly. It has to be there in the first paragraph. What is your viewpoint on that? And then add an anecdote, if you are aware of it. And if it's something which is related to a personality or very known person, so the anecdote becomes even more interesting and legitimate. So that I try to do all the time. And it is usually a 5-10 marks. So
10 marks question.
ज़्यादा नहीं लिखती अगर ज़्यादा नहीं पता तो.
Okay. What is your opinion, Muskan? How you take on this?
So I followed more or less the same strategy. In the first few lines, I would explain what the quote is actually about, and then some example or some situation attaching that, and then again in the conclusion, just a very crisp conclusion about what it wants to say. So that was my strategy.
I would suggest to my viewers that if you are preparing for paper 4, first cover the Indian thinkers like Gandhi, Tagore, Vivekananda, Kalam Sahab, because ultimately the questions they are asking, maybe one foreign author they are putting, but the Indianization of authors are there. Apart from this, there are questions related to doctrines, Sanjita. You may have heard, like doctrine of constitutional morality. Supreme Court in various decisions is quoting that we have to preserve the doctrine of constitutional morality. In such situation, there are doctrines, various doctrine of pith and substances, doctrine of waiver. So, do you read these doctrines separately, or like during your paper 2 or in your polity preparation it was covered?
During my ethics preparation, I made a complete note of ethical terms. So I made around 10 pages. I used to see various videos and many ethical terms which kept on creeping, come up. So I used to make a note so that my final revision would be a complete revision of all that notes. So there was a crisp notes in all these things as much as I could arrange, I could comprehend and make a note of. So I made a complete note of ethical terms. So it helps. You can use those terms in your answers. I had that filter bubble and many such terms I could, Boleyn effect. So it helped in my answer writing. So make a note of all ethical terms. Maybe it will help.
I think these keywords are so much, and they help you in leveraging good marks. Apart from this, the second section, which is very dynamic because it gives you the feeling that now you are the officer, you are the district collector. Now this thing has happened. How and what will be your approach to solve the issue? So in addressing the issues of case studies, what are your approach? Like writing down, jotting down each and every thought process you are coming, but there is a paucity of time, as we all know, or you write on that point format that you were saying, Sanjita.
What I used to do is case studies, the standard approach, the stakeholders and what is the issue, what is the ethical dilemmas involved. And then I had written down certain specific things like some sections from CRPC. Relevant sections. I used to have a tab on that what can be implemented if a district magistrate is there, an executive magistrate is there. So some relevant sections, some relevant issues which will be mentioned. So I had a note of all that for case studies which I could use. And I used to go for that short term, medium term and long term approach. I used to do that if the question is demanding that kind of an approach, so I would do that. And I used to write in points. I had that approach as well. And I actually, when you said, it's about my personality, if something is happening, I always used to, we in sociology have a term, empathetic listening, to stand in their own shoes and think that if I am in that position, what would have been my action? You have to think as that professional and write it down. You cannot just see through someone else's eyes and say maybe ye kar deta, wo kar deta. Nahin. It has to be professional, it has to be logical, and then you write it down. So I have always approached that kind of an way.
How you tackle case studies, Muskan?
So same for me, depending upon the question, I would start by writing the stakeholders approach or like listing down the issues which are given in the question. And for the solutions part, I would take like the middle road always, not too radical or which is not possible. A realistic solution I would seek for these case studies parts.
I think it's a good approach, Buddha's middle path. Yes, you're saying something.
Case studies were so different and there were very different kind of case studies this time. So we had never encountered such question.
Yes.
We prepared that har bari stakeholder approach nahi aayega. Something asked, what are you? So
yes, definitely. Because if the next year aspirants will think now, we may get some case studies related to migrant laborers, but UPSC will ask something different. It is its nature, right? I think one more thing I must add that if my viewers can add legislations in case studies, that will help you a lot.
Yes.
Any social legislation, if you remember, which you can quote there, it will help you.